A new candidate in the Democratic primary field out there. They're one of the richest people in the world, the 18th candidate in this sprawling field. I'm Devin Dwyer. Great to have you with us. Former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, you saw him right there, is officially on the campaign trail down in Virginia this afternoon, officially launching his campaign. And moments ago, we heard from him for the first time.
We cannot afford 4 more years of President Trump's reckless and unethical actions. He is an existential threat to our country, to our values, and our national security. And every day it seems to bring another example of just how unfit he is to serve as our president and commander-in-chief.
And our correspondent Lindsay Davis is down on the trail with Mayor Bloomberg and has this update for us. Hey, Lindsay.
Devin, for several weeks, it's been a question of is he in or is he not? And now we know officially that Michael Bloomberg is running for president of the United States. We heard it just here at this podium right behind me, the announcement in Norfolk, Virginia this morning. And this is from a man who just 8 months ago had said, look, I'm not going to run for president, because he said he was, quote unquote, clear-eyed about just how difficult it would be to win the nomination. But now Bloomberg has clearly had a change of heart, and he is putting his money where his mouth is. The 77-year-old former Republican says that he's a new choice for Democrats. Now, in the lead up to this announcement, Bloomberg apologized for his stop and frisk policy, something that he had defended for years. He's estimated to be worth $53 billion. He is one of the richest people in the world, and now using his own money to fund his race for the White House. His campaign says that he'll spend whatever it takes, and he's now already rolling out $37 million in TV ads. Now, that's more than half of the $50 million the entire 2020 Democratic presidential field has spent on TV ads so far this year, which is rubbing some of his opponents the wrong way. We've heard both from Senators Warren and Sanders that elections shouldn't be for sale, and they say that he is trying to buy this election. Another interesting thing is that his strategy of basically bypassing the early contests and then going on to try to win, especially focusing on Super Tuesday when 40% of the delegates are up for grabs, that has not worked since Hubert Humphrey in 1968. So he is here in Norfolk, Virginia today, heading to Phoenix, Arizona tomorrow. Devin.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. Let's bring in our Deputy Political Director, Mary Alice Parks, and Sirius XM radio host Mike Muse, a former Obama fundraiser in New York. Hey, guys, great to have you with us. Mary Alice, let's start with you. So we're 10 weeks now from the first votes being cast. Mike Bloomberg doesn't register in any of these Democratic primary polls. You've been talking to his team. How are they saying they're going to do this?
Yeah, like Lindsay said, they plan on this sort of shock and awe campaign. They're going to flood the airways. Let's put that $35 million in context. He spent that last week on campaign ads. That definitely will eclipse all the other candidates' planned advertising budgets. Frankly, it's more than most of the candidates have in the bank at all. The other candidates just are not going to be able to match his unbelievable spending power. And he's going to try to nationalize this race. You heard her say that he's planning to skip the early states, really focus on Super Tuesday. Democrats built a mega Super Tuesday where over a third of the delegates are up for grabs in places like California, but also states on the East Coast. There's the map. He's going to focus on those states that are delegate rich, that where TV advertising and a national message could really break through.
And Mike Bloomberg, we should remind everybody, just became a Democrat last year. He's talked a lot about how divisions among the current field of candidates has created an opening for him. You talk to a lot of Democrats. Do you think that Bloomberg is somebody who could sort of bridge that divide, be the candidate that none of this current field can be?
Was that for me or Mary Alice?
Go for it. You know better. You know better.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that, Devin. I think that Bloomberg can be that candidate. I think Bloomberg's entering this race is very interesting. I think it's very nuanced. I think Bloomberg has more of a shot to get more traction in the polls than most people are giving him credit for. People fail to realize that he was a 3-term mayor here in New York City, so he is definitely politically savvy. As Mary Alice just alluded to, he has the money to definitely go all the way and go the distance. The third thing I think we need to talk about is the X factor is technology. Bloomberg made his start, his fortunes in technology, and I am sure that he's going to use all the AI, machine learning, and big data to do specific targeting towards likely voters who are likely to vote for him and to get them out to the polls. The fourth thing is that he takes away the argument from the progressive side of the Democratic Party, who is this anti-billionaire, anti-elitism, anti-rich class. And what he does is neutralizes it, because Bloomberg spent a lot of his fortunes on climate change. Bloomberg has spent a lot of his fortunes on gun control. So he automatically comes in neutralizing that argument that the progressive wing of the Democratic Party has. And then in addition to, he's always already leaning into the fact that the rich should be taxed. That was part of his rollout video to his ad. So he's coming in a lot more competitive than people, I think, are giving him credit for. He's much more of a tactician than I think people are giving him credit for. And let's face it, Mary Ellis and Devitt, he leaned into the stop and frisk. He's apologized for it. Most politicians of his stature refuse to apologize for anything that has caused harm to a demographic. And so he's coming out the gate leaning into things that could be seen as a weakness, and he's turning into an opportunity for conversation.
Yeah, he says his wealth is actually a selling point, talking about foregoing a salary in the White House, much like Donald Trump, but also not soliciting any donations at all. Mary Alice, you know, you listen to the other candidates, they'll react to Bloomberg's entry here, and a lot of them are sort of dismissing that argument. They see his wealth as a liability.
Right, they're trying to fold him into their arguments, like Mike said, arguments against the billionaire class. That's been a mainstay of Bernie Sanders' stump speeches, Elizabeth Warren's policy proposals. They're basically introducing him as a new villain in their campaigns. But that idea of not accepting donations, remember, could be tricky in this presidential primary. It means that he most likely will not be able to participate in the December debate. But we'll see in the new year if Democrats change their qualifications for the debates and let a candidate who isn't taking donations, isn't building kind of grassroots infrastructure, be able to still compete.
And Mike, money aside, what do we know about Bloomberg's views on policy? I mean, this is not someone who was on the left end of the spectrum. He opposes Medicare for all. He also opposes the Green New Deal.
Yeah, Bloomberg is one of those moderate Democrats. A lot of Democrats who fit in that middle would ideally like, as you said, Devin, set the money aside. He's very moderate. He's very down the road. He's anti-Green New Deal, but it doesn't mean he's anti-climate or anti-energy, because he's invested much of his personal resources and his time, his energy into climate change, into putting his money where his mouth is. He's really moderate and actually aggressive when it comes to gun control and gun regulations. So he has definitely a progressive nature to him with some pragmatism that allows him to pump the brakes a little bit. So he is going to fit that place where Cory Booker thought that he had, where Senator Kamala Harris thought that she owns, also, too, with Mayor Pete in that space and lane that he has, and in particular going right after Vice President Biden.
All right, Mike Muse, Mary Alice Parks, thank you both so much. And one footnote, Mike Bloomberg might not be competing there, but New Hampshire today formally scheduled its date for the first-in-the-nation presidential primary. Mark your calendars, February 11th, 2020. The 100th anniversary of New Hampshire being first in the nation is set.